This is the Extra Point Podcast. During this podcast, we will dive deeper into our Sunday teaching and share practical next steps for your faith journey. Now, let's kick off the Extra Point.
Hey, welcome to the Extra Point. I'm Cheryl Ross, the Next Steps in Discipleship pastor here at Southwood Church, and I'm with Scott Beha, our lead pastor. And before we dive any deeper, I want to make sure that if you haven't liked or subscribed to this podcast, that you go ahead and do so. That way you don't miss out on any new content. So this week we covered another week in our series, Selfish and Stupid, which is a relationship series, and you covered friendships this past week.
Yeah.
And you shared this quote from Craig Rochelle that it's impossible to live the right life with the wrong friends.
Yep. So
let's talk about friends and the different dynamics. So for somebody who follows Jesus, you have Christian friends, you have non-Christian friends.
Yep.
How do you kind of see that within the Christian walk to be able to have those right friends, but also perhaps still have friendships that are not Christians that you can point to Jesus?
Yeah, so I pointed to a study that I've used in sermons multiple times from a guy named Morin Cerf that just talks about the people that you're around, your brain waves actually begin to mimic each other. And so you have to make sure that you're surrounded by the right type of people in life. The Bible backs that up. 1 Corinthians talks about that bad company corrupts good character. And so when it comes to Christians and non-Christians, there was a study, I didn't share it on Sunday, but I remember this stat from early on in ministry, that within 2 years, people that are serious about their faith have almost zero friendships that are not Christians. Which on one hand you go, wow, that sounds great, but on the other hand you go, well, no, because there does need to be a balance. So I'll give my personal story. I shared a little bit of it on Sunday. When I first got saved, I didn't have any Christian friends, and I was new at church, so I didn't know anyone here, so I didn't have any friends. And I knew if I went back and hung out with the folks that I was used to hanging out with, I would fall right back into that because there's, let's say 8 of us are hanging out. There's 7 of them, there's 1 of me. Chances of me leading a revival 1 week after getting saved in that little group is not very likely, but the chances of me getting high or drunk were really high. So I just had to step away from all of that, even though it was a painful season, until I created relationships at the church.
Yeah.
But then what I saw was a couple months into it, I started to, because I had 2 different groups of friends. I had a group of friends that I did drugs with. I had a group of friends that I mainly drank with. So I would start to hang out with the drinking crew again, because they, we were watching football games, big WU fans or whatnot. So I would end up, hey, they're watching the WU football game. And then what would happen is throughout that summer, and I'd been saved for like 6 months, so I was like starting to reintroduce myself back to my old friends essentially. Throughout that summer, it started off with like, hey, I'd go over there and, I'd have a beer or whatnot. And then by the end of the summer, it ended up with me missing church, drunk, and Megan very, very angry with me. And it was like, well, you reintroduced yourself into these environments, and you are not yet spiritually strong enough to handle those relationships. And so there again, it was like, hey, you've got to make a change. And so I surrounded myself with predominantly Christians during that time because I needed to get stronger in my faith. Now that I'm stronger in my faith, I can go, I'm no longer tempted in the ways that I was.
Right.
Still tempted by other things, new things. This is what happens on your faith journey, but not tempted in the way that I was.
Right.
I'm not really tempted to go sit around with 8 guys and drink 15 beers anymore. It's just not a thing. I'm sorry, I'm too old for that crap. So I'm not tempted in that way anymore. So I can reintroduce myself to non-Christian friends in a very safe way. So when you're a Christian, you may go through seasons of growth where it's like you really, 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 your focus needs to be on your own personal discipleship. And then once you have been properly discipled to a point to where your convictions are strong and things, then yeah, let's have friendships with those outside of the faith, because you are called in Matthew 28. We're all called to go and make disciples, and you can't go and make disciples if you are only surrounded by Christians. So you do have to have both. Now, one of the things I didn't say real clear Sunday, what I want to make sure is really clear, I was not standing in judgment of my friends. I was standing in judgment of myself.
Right.
Me getting saved did not mean that they needed to do anything differently.
Right.
They didn't owe me anything.
Right.
I couldn't be friends with them, not because, I'm saved now, I'm better than you. It was actually because I'm so weak, I can't go around there. So sometimes people hear this message of like, hey, when you get saved, you need to surround yourself with Christian people to help disciple you. They go, oh, why? Because you think you're better than all the people that you used to hang. No. It's because I know that I'm not better than them, that I can't go around them, because I know that I'll jump right back into what I used to be in. It's not an arrogance thing. It's not like, well, you guys are sinners, so I'm too good for you now. No, it's like I want something different right now, and I don't want to put that expectation on you all. You all just go and do what you want to do. I've got to focus on me for a little while. And so it was never like, I never felt superior to the people that I had kind of walked away from.
Right.
Because I wasn't.
Right.
I just knew if I went into those, like if you keep going into certain environments, eventually, you can't keep putting yourself in harm's way and thinking, oh, everything's going to be fine. And so when we talk about friendships, we need Christian friends predominantly. We also need people in our lives that we can be reaching out to. We need to have purposeful relationships. Like, I think that stat of after 2 years, most Christians have no Christian friends. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? After 2 years, you should be in a place where you can have some non-Christian friends that you're not going to feel tempted to fall into whatever they're into every time you go around them. But again, your best friends should be people that you go to church with. The people that get the vast majority of your time should be people that can, like the 4 friends that got their friend to Jesus, should be those types of friends that will get you closer to Jesus. And then those other relationships are for evangelistic purposes and such. But that's not the vast majority. Like, the vast majority of your time should be spent surrounded by people that have your best intention spiritually in mind and heart. And so that's what it needs to look like. So I want to make sure we don't make the mistake of having no Christian friends, and also not the mistake of having only Christian friends. And if you have to step away, don't judge those other people.
Yes.
You coming to faith is not an indictment against them, and where like they didn't make that decision. You're not any better than them. You're just doing things differently, and so it requires a new season. And sometimes things from old seasons don't come into the new season, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I think in Jenny Allen's book, Find Your People, I think it was called. She talked about how there are season, reason, and lifetime friendships, like, and relationships, like, and so you have to be able to also realize that in those times. Like, sometimes it's like, okay, they were friends for a season, that season is over. Yeah. Now I need some new friends in this season.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's really important to remember. I think it's also great to remember this aspect because, like you said, your first point was good friends tell the truth no matter what. Well, when you're trying to live a life for Christ, you're trying to do things a different way. You don't go to those non-Christian friends for advice or to tell you how you should live in a certain way. Like, you need to go to those people who share those same values and beliefs as you, because the truth that they're going to speak to you is going to be grounded in God's word and that truth, hopefully, where non-Christian friends is probably not going to be. And so remembering that is incredibly important. I think that aspect of until you are there in a place where you are strong enough or, not just strong in, that way, but like strong in your faith. You understand the Christian faith and those dynamics, not allowing yourself to enter back into that space is something that I think most people miss.
Most people will not pay that price to go through the season of loneliness. And pay that price to do it. Because I watch it for, I'm in my 15th year. I'm watching it. most people that make a faith claim, like a profession of faith, they will run right back to their old life because they want Jesus, but they are not willing to sacrifice. Well, that was my circle, man. Those were my people.
Yeah, and
they won't do it.
And I think you can care and love and pray for those people because, yes, you probably had some really close friendships. I know I did in that time frame with me when I had to step away. I had some really close friendships. I wanted them to come along with me, but ultimately, like you said, you didn't make that decision for them. You can't make that decision for them. So in that time, you can pray for them. You can, seek God on their behalf in that way, but like knowing and just having that wisdom to say, okay, I just can't do this right now.
And you can also find safe ways to continue those relationships. So for me, if I were in that situation, okay, if these are folks I know on Friday night, we used to hang out at the bar. Well, I'm not going to go do that because I know that I'll got a good chance of falling into sin and temptation. But if there's a friendship that's really worth me I really want to save this, can we go have lunch?
Yeah.
Can we have breakfast?
Yes.
Can you come over Saturday afternoon? Like,
yes.
If you know this is the area where that's going to be an issue, well, then schedule your time with them in ways that will keep you, hey, do you want to come hang out with me and, bring a Christian friend along, right? Like, just, you can still have those relationships, but do them in a wise way. Like, if you're an alcoholic, don't go hang out with your friends at the bar, like, for the sake of evangelism. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, just don't do it. If you're an alcoholic, stay away from the bar. Your evangelistic strategy should probably be something different, right? If you came from a life of doing drugs, don't go hang out with a bunch of people that are doing drugs in the name of Jesus. Like, it's just silliness. Know yourself well enough to go, I care for those people, so I'm going to invite them to lunch where I know that's, we're in a safe environment there. I'm not going to fall into temptation that way or whatnot. Like, just be, again, the Bible is a book of wisdom as much as anything. And it implores us to use wisdom. So it's like, just do what, like, a wise person, what common sense would say. Yeah, I'm not going to run back into that situation. It's, it's like when you're dating. If you don't want to have premarital sex, stop crawling in the back seat with your boyfriend and girlfriend. Don't go on, or like, if you're at a point in life where you both have your own places. If you don't want to be tempted to have premarital sex, then don't put yourself, hey, we're going to go over and watch TV at Billy's house this afternoon, just the two of us. What the heck do you think's going to happen? With all your best intentions in the world, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Stop putting yourself in that situation. If you're serious about your faith, you can have relationships and do them in a safe way to go, I'm not going to put myself in that situation. I know myself well enough to go, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we have seen, like, from your message and all those, that friendship is extremely important.
Yep.
Okay. But how do you think, because this is something that I feel like a lot of moms struggle, and even dads, like, and people, women and men in general, like, I feel like they struggle with this because it's almost like they want to put, I think this happens in marriages a lot, where they want to put all the relationship needs of a person on their spouse.
Yep.
Like, where, it's like, well, I'm with my spouse all the time, so he's everything. Like, but how do we manage and kind of give us some practical things that we can try to do or put in place to where we can make friends outside of spouse, family, and kind of balance that with our home life, like, because I think there's so much emphasis on family first that sometimes we forget that you actually do put your family first by having a friend outside the family.
Yep.
And so how would you go about telling some people just some really practical ways of how you can make some friends and how you can balance that with, still not putting those relationships that really do matter to the side to do it?
Well, first thing first. So if you're part of a family, you got wife or husband and kids. find other people that are in that situation and have mutual friends. That's the first step of it, because then you'll get more time together as a family and with friends. You want mutual friends. This is why I'm a SYMBIS certified counselor, so I can do premarital counseling and marital counseling through that. One of the things on the SYMBIS assessment is how satisfied are you in your relationship with your mutual friends. There's a reason why that shows up on this, is because having mutual friends where husband and wife are both friends with the same group of people, it's a benefit to your family to do that. Whereas, of course, you're going to have some friends that like, hey, my wife doesn't really care for his wife or whatnot. They're not compatible people. That's okay too. I'm just saying that start with mutual friends. Find people that both of you really enjoy. Find people that your kids are in similar life stage so that your kids enjoy their kids as well. So I would start there. The other aspects that I would say is, if you're family first, I want to be family first. I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. So I don't have any time to invest in friendships. Just understand, you'll never be the best version of you if you do not prioritize friendships in your life. So if you want to be the best father, the best husband, find a friend that can help. Iron sharpens iron. You will never be the best version of yourself if you do not have people in your life that are doing these 5 things. If you don't have someone that is pulling purpose out of you with their words and also calling you on your crap, you will never be the best husband or the best wife that you could possibly be if you don't have these. So it's really short-sighted to go, I'm sorry, we just don't have enough time for our friends. It's like, we have time for whatever we make time for. So, and I said it Sunday, if having friends and healthy friendships is important, then schedule it. Go, you know what? I may only have one night this month, but I'm going to take that one night and go ahead, contact my friends or our mutual friends. Hey, do you all want to do something on this day, on this night? And then set it as sacred as anything else in your calendar. Don't let your friendship stuff be treated as like, that's optional. I got to call and cancel. Something came up. No, treat it like a meeting at work, because that's what it is. It's vitally important if you want to be the best version of you, that, yes, your spouse, yes, your kids. But if you don't have those other people, you are not going to be the best version that you can be for the people that you care the most about. And I'll say this also. If your spouse, or if you're married and your spouse has a friend, and maybe it's not a mutual thing, it's just their friend, they've been friends forever, give them permission to go and invest in that relationship. And stop being petty and going, well, I guess I'll just sit at home with the kids tonight. No. That's not what we ought to do either. If your wife wants to go out, girls' night out, husbands, strap on your kid watching pants, sit down and do some kid watching, and encourage her to go be with other women that will make her better, that she can blow off some steam with, that she can get some advice from, and so she can find out that she's not crazy, because all of them are experiencing the same thing. And the same thing, if your husband wants to go out and have a guys' night, encourage them to do that, and don't give them a hard time every time you turn around that they want to hang out with their friends and you're hassling them. On the flip side, if your husband is having 12 boys' nights out a week or a month, then he's still a little boy. And he needs to grow up. And if you're having 12 girls' nights a week, something is off if you don't have more of a desire to be at home with your family. So just invest in friendships if you want to be the best version of you. But if you're only investing in friendships and you're never at home, there's also a problem. Why do you not want to be at home?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like some other practicalities is that like, hey, if your kids play a sport, well, guess what? There are a lot of other parents that are there during those times of practice, during whatever. Like a lot of times it's proximity and in the things that you're already doing that you can end up making some of the best friends that you end up having for life within that. Yes, church is a great place. Groups are a great place. But like there are some things, if you're going to be sitting, like our kids just started soccer practice again, we're going to be sitting there 2 nights a week plus then games, right? And so that's 2 nights a week that we can be intentional about getting to know some of those other parents. And like we live in an area that a lot of those parents, like we know are Christians and go to church at other churches. So there's no reason why we can't invest in some of those and begin to make them some relationships, because we also are in that dynamic of we don't have family close by to help us like take those kids to sports and that kind of thing. And if we're not doing what we need to do to be intentional and make those friendships, then we don't have anybody else to call on in those times where like I have 2 Saturdays this coming month that I have events that I'm speaking at. There's 2 Saturdays that we have to figure out who's going to help take the other kid to the other game because I won't be there.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that it does help in so many areas of your life. It'll take that stress off to be able to say, no, we know and trust these people. They can handle our kid for that day. Or like we trust them to take them to the game and be with them for a little while afterwards so we can meet up or whatever. There are so many different things. So proximity is just look at those people and be intentional in those spaces.
The practicality of it too, of friendship, is if it's not very common that people live where they grew up anymore around family.
Yes.
So who is going to help you?
Yes.
When you're living somewhere that you're not around your family, if you're not investing in relationships, there's going to come a time that you're going to be in need. Would you rather trust someone that you've built a friendship with over the years, or some stranger at the last second goes, well, this is the best I can do?
Yeah.
You don't want to get in that situation. So there's we're not creating friendships so we can use people, but there is a practicality to go, you've got to have people in your life.
Yes.
You cannot do this life by yourself. Yeah. It is incredibly ignorant and arrogant to think that you can go through life on your own and somehow become the best version of you and properly take care of a spouse and kids when you're like, it's just not possible. Yeah. And so we really, really need friends. We need to make time. We need to schedule it as a priority. And then, as we talked about Sunday, you need to make sure they're the right type of friends.
Yeah.
Because maybe you got friends, but I promise you, if they don't sound like the type of friends we talked about on Sunday, then you got the wrong friends and you need better friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one more question, and then we'll wrap up, just because this is something that I think about a lot and I'm intrigued about. How much do you think modern convenience and modern technologies have hurt friendships or these types of relationships?
I think a lot. I think because we have a social media app that tells us that we have 1,500 friends. You don't have 1,500 friends. You don't have 1,500 friends. Which is, it's so silly. It's like, oh, it's Cheryl's birthday today. I guess I'll tell her happy birthday on. And we think that these online relationships are real. They aren't. These are not like real relationships whatsoever. Because there's still an anonymity behind a screen that you don't get in face-to-face. Right. So I think that it's hurt it a lot. And so people go, well, I don't need to go invest in real friendships because I'm investing in these online friendships. And, yeah, maybe you got your group of people that you play online games with or whatnot, but you don't – unless you've ever met up consistently, you don't know who that is. Yeah. You've only talked to them through a screen.
Yeah. And, well, then you have, like, not just that, but you have an app that can deliver you anything you want.
Yeah, you don't even have to go out anymore. You don't have to go grocery shopping anymore. You don't have to go to restaurants anymore. I think it's hurt all of those things. And plus, I'm all for all of that also. Right. I love social media. I love Kroger Click List.
Yeah.
I love I don't love DoorDash and Uber Eats only because I don't like paying additional money on the food for it to show up not as hot as it would be if I was in the restaurant. I just have a problem with to-go food in general.
Yeah.
You can ask Megan. It's been a point of contention. Listen, just add that to the list of my weirdness that, like, I don't take food to go. Like, I go to restaurants or else I will eat at home. Like, I would rather eat a bag of chips at home begrudgingly than order takeout. I want the food. The minute it comes off the grill, I want it on my plate, right in front of me.
It's just not as good when I'm with you on that. So.
I just don't like it. And if you go through one of the apps, they mark it all up, and like my McDonald's order ends up being $25 just for me because of all of that. And I'm like, and it's not going to be them fries by the time they get there. No, that's my little thing. But yeah, modern conveniences have really affected that because on one hand it makes people think that they have more close friendships than they really do, but they don't realize how lonely they actually are. If you're spending a whole lot of time and the vast majority of your friendships are online, it's kind of a warning sign. And then, when you're not having to go out in public to do anything anymore, it's like, I don't even have to go to church anymore. I just turn on the TV and watch church.
Yeah.
Like this, I think that this is what church leaders, even here at Southwood Church, we need to figure this out. The convenience, or not the convenience, the unique contribution that the local church is now making to people's life is not content, it's community. That's what we need to, people, listen, I understand people like my preaching, fairly well.
Yeah.
But you can get the best preachers in the world with a click of a button.
Yes.
Okay, so, and I would never put myself in that stratosphere of the best communicators in the world, and you can literally get to them in a click of a button. People are not coming solely for content anymore. They are coming because they want that sense of community that they have been starved for as they live their life online. That's what church has to become. If you want your church to be successful in 2025 and beyond, give them something that they cannot get anywhere else. Our worship team here, pretty dang good. Not nearly as good as Spotify. I can hold my own preaching. I'm no Andy Stanley, Craig Rochelle, you fill in the blank. I mean, what do we have to uniquely offer? We have community to offer.
Yeah.
The gathered body of Christ. So if you're listening to this, you're part of Southwood Church, you go, well, I come and I really like the music, I really like the teaching. Well, you can get those anytime, anywhere. Why don't you show up every week realizing that the one thing that you bring is you?
Yeah.
And somebody else needs you. Yeah. And you need somebody else. And come and make this place a community more so than a content delivery system, which we are that. Sure, some people just really like our content, resonate with us. That's fine. But the unique thing that we can do for people here in Charleston is create community.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do. We can help create friendships through our groups, through serving together, through just showing up on Sunday mornings consistently, seeing the same people, talking to those people. Don't just come in and leave. Yeah. What is the point in coming? If you're only going to come in and leave without talking to anyone, making any connections, just do that at home.
Yeah. And I will say, because a lot of people will hear this and think, well, I've been there this many times and nobody really talks to me. But what have you personally done to talk to people? And I'll really put it on parents here, because there are Sundays that you're back there in line with other parents who obviously have kids the same age or around the same age as you, because you're in the same pickup line together. Are you talking and meeting those other parents while you're in line at pickup? I mean, there are so many different things. We usually have tons of people still hanging out after services, talking, chit-chatting, whatever. And all it takes, Sunday, we did Name Tag Sunday. And I wonder how many people actually took the initiative to learn some other people's names while they were there, wearing them to where it's a little easy. Oh, hey, Sam, nice to meet you. I'm, whatever, Cheryl. Anyway, so I do think, it is on you. It does take work on your part.
If the pastors of this church are the only people that you are connected to, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you. If you've been here more than 2 or 3 times, you should have connections with other people in the church by then. You just should. That's the reason why you're showing up. We're not doing anything here on a level that is better than what you can find online. So if you're showing up, it should be to show up to find community, to find connection. That's what we should be doing. That's when you come in, who are you looking for? Who's looking for you? That's what you should be on mission every single time that you come to this place. I'm trying to create community. That's one of the things I'm doing in my Bible study this time, because it got so big. Again, it's the goal is not me to fill your head with knowledge. Really, the goal of my group is let's talk about the Bible, but I want you to meet these other guys. And so we have 23 people in this Bible study, which is way too big for a small group. So I have them sit in little pods. And so rather than a traditional small group where I ask the question and we all go around and share, now I've got them sitting in these little pods. And now they are only connecting with 2, 3, 4 people right there. And this pod, because I want the connection.
Yes.
if I only wanted to give them my take on N.T. Wright's teaching on Matthew,
Right.
I'll just make a video and send it out to them.
Right.
They're showing up to meet somebody, to create a relationship with somebody. And that's why you need to see the churches that way.
Yeah.
Is you need to come in and go, I'm a connector. That's what I'm here to do. If I'm not serving, I'm here to be a connector. I'm not just coming in here to fill up a seat. I think it's sad that there's people that come to this church that have no relationship with anyone other than the staff. Yes, we're going to be your first line of defense, most likely. First people that you meet are probably going to be first impressions and the pastors. But after 2-3 weeks, you got to have somebody. You got to know somebody's name, somebody that you're excited to see. That's what the church is supposed to be here for.
Yeah.
It's our unique contribution to our community. Like, hey, if you're out there, you're lonely, you don't have anybody, this is a place for you.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to do as a church.
Yeah.
So I hope that if you're watching this and you're anonymous at Southridge Church, that this past Sunday will be the last Sunday that you're anonymous.
Yeah.
That you come in this Sunday with a purpose and a passion to meet somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you have it. We'll be back here again next week with another extra point and some more practical next steps for your faith journey.
Thanks for tuning in to The Extra Point. Be sure to subscribe to the Southridge Church podcast and tune in every Wednesday for another episode of The Extra Point.